Y'all. I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Whew, today, we are going to be diving into part 2 of Robert Tea's Tell Us. He's going to say it both ways. We're going to talk about his testimony. I think Tea's is the correct way to say it. And then I think he allows people to say it the other way, or he's heard other people give testimony with it that way. This situation is very tragic, and I apologize to the family of Jeff. I don't know me and names because it looks like German, but it's German, to the family of Jeff German, because I accidentally said Jeremy. Me and names, charge it to the head, not the heart. Okay, so me and names, horrible, no excuse, but I wanted to apologize. In my last coverage, I was going too fast and said the wrong name, and I'm able to admit and acknowledge when I'm wrong. We're not going to see that happen here. We are not going to see that at all. Nope. We are going to see a lot of denial. The cross-examination is classic. Like this is perfect, and this is exactly why his attorneys probably recommended that he not testify, because the evidence is just too it was too much. And then there were things he said in his direct examination that opened doors, like, "Oh, you want the team's messages submitted to the jury? Okay, we can don't make it look like we don't want them to see it. Oh, sure. We So you want us to include those messages where you're having inappropriate conversations with your subordinate? We can do that." And those were the messages that Jeff wanted. That was what was going to come out in the next, well, that's the allegation. That's what Jeff wanted for his next article on him. And so, oh, um popcorn ready, and let me know if y'all have questions. So I think he probably has this confidence that might be attractive to people, but that confidence is likely a little bit of narcissism. And so yes, teas is the phonetic, that's the Spanish, but it looks like tells or tellus. And so yes, so thank you for that, and I hope I spelled it correctly. I'll go back and change it if I didn't. But oh, the district attorney. So was that the assistant district attorney? Because because there are two people that have been going back and forth. The woman, she has done a phenomenal job, and then the guy that's going to cross examine him, he was ready. And let's go on ahead and see where we are with this. When he's waiting, he's gonna make these faces. Like, his face is just, like, in this permanent state of, like, this furrowed brow. Like, that's just how he always looks. But he kind of does these odd when he's looking to the jury. It's just odd to me. Like, this could just be his personality and how he is. I do feel like he's trying to convince the jury to believe his opinion. And in that effort to try to convince them, he's not just answering questions, and he's not telling. And in my opinion, he doesn't seem to be being truthful. And I think the jury questions are telling. And I'm going to try to see if I can find exactly where those are. So let's go. In my opinion, he seems to like control, really, really like control. And I think that's why he might have also wanted to give this narrative so that he could control it. I don't think he likes being out of control. Okay, I'm going to fast forward.
Show the two, my genes versus the killer. I'd like to.
So that's what happened. So he's going to ask for the killer's genes, and he's going to say that these are not his genes. That's where we are in this testimony.
Show the two, my jeans versus the killer's pants. I personally don't believe that they look the same.
His opinion is irrelevant.
Sustained.
Okay. And I'd like to also note that none of my other pants, jeans, or anything else were taken from my home on the day of the search. As a result of my jeans being taken from me that day, I was put into that paper suit. And you've seen the
He's going to tell some sob stories, and he is going to feel very bad for himself. Okay. Now, I'm sure it was uncomfortable him being in a paper suit. I'm sure that was uncomfortable. But the fact that he's focusing on this right now, like if you're suspected of a crime, you might be uncomfortable. You might. And if you attempt to unalive yourself before that, you're not gonna have your clothes in your belt and you just tried to harm yourself. You're gonna end up in a paper suit where you can't harm yourself. The video's skipping for you. I hope it's fine. Let me know if y'all are having any issues, if anyone else is having issues.
the photo of the paper suit. And the room was cold. I asked, well, when I attempted to have the temperature adjusted,
So I think he was gonna say, like, I asked to have the temperature turned up, but that's not how jails work. Jails don't work where they can turn up the temperature. It's like there's no thermostat in the room where we can, "Oh, no problem, sir. We can turn up the thermostat for your room." But maybe they coulda got him a blanket or something, like, maybe, but they were he's suspected of a crime right now. They are not going to try to make him comfortable. And the fact that he's focusing on this right now, this doesn't seem to be the most relevant things that he should be focusing on. But okay.
there was no help there. So I spent the day freezing in that paper suit.
As though they're supposed to help him. They're there to like, no, sir, you're suspected of a crime.
There, I'm sorry. There were various things that were done to, I believe, break me.
So if you are arrested for a crime, they might make you a little uncomfortable. You might be hungry, you might be thirsty, like they might not let you call somebody, and he's going to clarify why he was uncomfortable during this time and why they did all these things. But dude, like this isn't a hotel room where like you are suspected of a crime. Don't do crimes. Like if you don't do crimes, you won't if you're not suspected of a crime. Okay? Oh, did I tell y'all this story? So my husband's battery died. Like his car battery died inside of our garage. And our like it's not a big hill, but you kind of drive up to get into our garage. And my car was too far for us to jump his car. We had AAA. And the whole time I'm thinking, dude, we need to call AAA, but he didn't want to call them. I'm a decent wife. And so I was like, okay, I'll put the car in neutral and we'll try to push your car over so we can get it so we can get it further over. Well, he kept getting stuck where he was like having trouble pushing the car back up into the garage. And I kept stopping. I kept braking when it was rolling backwards because I wanted him to live. Like I didn't, I'm like, dude, if something happens to you, they're going to look at me first. Like, no, that wasn't exactly what I was, but like, dude, like, I watch too much true crime to let something happen. Okay, let's get back to Robert.
I had conveyed concern all along about my family. And as time went on during this detention, interrogation, whatever, I learned of various things that I believe would tend to, and did for me, break someone's spirit. I was informed that all of my vehicles were being taken away. And this was early in this interrogation. This was before they supposedly found a shoe that they.
There was probably a search warrant because he has a car that matches the one that was seen near the victim's house. So they are going to take all 3 cars. They're going to search your house. That's just what's gonna happen. And he's wanting sympathy. To me, he's wanting sympathy from the jury for this, like, "Feel bad for me that they did this to me. Can you believe they did this to me?" And he has this lack of insight where I don't think he sees a problem with this. I don't think he gets why this is irrelevant to the evidence and to this case. Completely, completely irrelevant. And we're gonna get to this, we're gonna get to the rims. 'Cause I missed that in his cross-examination, I think it was day 6, or not, his direct testimony. He tried to say that the rims on the car didn't match his car, and the cross-examination is gonna be classic.
Were taking all my vehicles away, which made no sense to me. They, when I wanted to reach out to talk to my family, to try to put them at ease, I was denied the ability to make any phone calls. When I wanted to speak to an attorney, I was denied the ability to talk to an attorney. It was my understanding that my rights were being suspended because I was not arrested. I was just being detained.
So he just explained why this did not apply to him. He was not "Sir, you're not arrested. You're just being detained while we execute a search warrant." And you just tried to, like, when we tried to bring you in, you made an attempt. So, no, sir, we're not gonna let you talk to anybody. Like, we're gonna execute our search warrant. There's probably a period of time where they're able to do that before they have to allow him to talk to people.
Um, Later, again, detectives took advantage, I believe, of my feelings for my family by referring to them over and over. And, it was a lot.
Mm.
Then all that finished. They were finished with the search.
Okay.
And they took me back home.
Y'all, I have to speed him up, okay? We're gonna go 1.25. I can't take it. 1.25.
And the media was outside my house.
Mhm.
And somebody followed me all the way to my garage door, with a microphone in hand. If I'd say chasing me per se, but she was walking pretty briskly, all the way up to my house. And while that was, I'm sure, her right, I wasn't. It didn't help the situation.
Why is he talking to the jury about the media following him to his door? Why? I don't understand. But I do. Because once again, he's trying to say, look at how unfair this is. Look at the effect that this conspiracy and you know, this violation of my rights, it really is Darvo. Like, he's really trying, he's denying, he's doing the entire Darvo right now.
To know that the media had been tipped off and they were swarming around the house.
Oh yeah.
Then I walked into the house, and what I saw hit me even harder. I'd like to share the photos of my house after Metro finished their search. I think it's A2 to maybe S2.
Y'all.
That's going to be A2 through I2. Yes, A2 through I2.
I think when he was pro se, I don't think it was going well. And I think what he really wanted to do, so when he went pro se, he got to do that media interview, and then he got a lawyer again. Um, Somebody probably recommended that he get a lawyer. The jury might take, so the jury is asking really good questions, and I think the jury is taking this seriously. So I would suspect the jury might take, depending on, Because is he charged? I'll have to look up his charges while this plays. If he's charged with first degree, I don't know what he's charged with. Gonna fast forward while they're finding the pictures that he's gonna be distraught.
Want to publish?
I would, if you wouldn't mind, could you take maybe 10 seconds of photo and clip them for me?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Do you want to see the photos? Take your choice.
Well, I guess maybe, but when we publish them, if you could publish them for about 10 seconds if you would. And I'm what I'm concerned about.
So I'm gonna play this at regular speed, just so I'm gonna play this part at regular speed because I'm gonna have a whole lot of snark. Okay. Remember, I am not his therapist. For anybody that's new here, I'm not his therapist. Okay, because I would not do this with a client. This is for YouTube purposes. Okay.
Publishing are the photos of the inside of my home
They are.
and what.
Yes.
So, thank you, sir.
Not yet. They
This
have
is
closing arguments
A2.
coming up on Monday.
So
Closing arguments on
This
Monday.
is what I walked into in my house starting.
This is A2, A1.
I wish they had taken a picture of what the house looked like before. Okay. I wish they had taken a picture of the before. And also, if you're accused of a crime and they get a search warrant to search the house, now they're not going to break anything, but they're going to move stuff around. They're going to and they're not going to clean up after themselves. Like after executing, have never seen a defendant show their house after a search warrant. Not that I can remember. Can y'all think of the case where a defendant was like, "Oh my gosh, look at how the mess they left my house after they searched, after I was convicted, after I was charged with a crime." Like nobody who does that. And this is the only emotion that I saw. Can y'all think of another time that he showed emotion on the stand? Like this was the only time that he showed emotion. This is the thing.
All right.
It's
I don't know the similar looking photo.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you done with this photo?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. This is B2.
like there's stuff everywhere. They're searching for a murder weapon.
Coincidentally, I was led to believe that they were not going to make a mess in my house.
I was led to believe
This is C2.
they would not make a mess in my house. This is the thing. This is what
This
got
is
him.
D2.
Okay, y'all correct. This doesn't look that bad. But it's they had to move stuff around. Like they didn't smash things, they didn't smear things on walls, they didn't write you know, this is like they executed a search warrant. That's what they did.
This is E2.
He's not emotional yet. I think it's coming. Court TV showed it side by side. You can actually see him getting emotional, but not. You can see him appearing
This is
to do like
F2.
this. Like it's just stuff everywhere. Now he's starting to sniffle.
This is G2.
The sniffling is getting harder. Like this is just stuff. Like
This is H2.
okay. Yeah. So he's going like that's what he's doing.
This is I2. And this is J2.
Sitting on the floor in our bedroom in the middle of this mess. And So this for me was, the thing that just broke me.
I'm going to go back so we can try to see if there are tears.
The thing that just broke me.
I saw a wipe. I personally didn't see tears. I would have been mad. I would have been like, this is inconvenient. Like I would have been upset. This wouldn't have made me like want to like harm like this. I don't understand. And I might have misspoke. So I think this might be after this might be when he has the attempt. It wasn't before. So when he had on the paper thing, they just took his clothes. They took the clothes that were on his body. So I misspoke earlier. Okay. So I have videos. So Chopper, if you check out my my court reactions, if you go back, or if you type in Shanda Vander Ark, Dr. Patrice Berry, my video should come right up. She was a mess. Okay. She was a lot more, I think she was more controlling because she would correct her lawyer. she was very, very controlling, and more so, maybe more so than him. And she didn't make as many mistakes because he's making mistakes. When I say she doesn't make mistakes, because he's going to say he's 6'5", and I think he meant to say 5'6", because he's going to say that he's 6'5", but he's not.
I'm sorry. I knew I didn't do this thing, and yet the police claim to have this evidence. They did what they did to me.
They did what they did to me. Okay. Oh yeah, Shanda Vander Ark was the one. I don't know if it was fake or real. I don't know. Her lawyer would know. It got her off the stand and she never came back. She was never cross-examined. I was mad about that. They let her get out of getting cross-examined because she had like a panic attack or whatever.
And I have a $1 million life insurance policy. I didn't want my family to have to go through.
So he's saying that he didn't want his family to have to go through it. This is my personal belief. Individuals with narcissistic traits, they're often more concerned with their own image, their own looks, like what's going to come out about him. He likely knew that, like, because the jury's going to ask when his wife found out about the affair. Like he probably knew, oh my gosh, they're suspecting me. I personally, I don't think he was thinking about his family in that moment. I think he only thinks about himself. I don't know that he's ever thought about anybody else besides himself. That's just my own personal thoughts based on what we've heard.
More torture. And so I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought, you know what, if I can avoid the pain that they're going to suffer during this whole circus, then some money into their hands to make up for me not being there, then maybe this is the thing to do. But it was, never, I'm not guilty. I didn't kill Mr. German.
So my child's asked me to look at something. Come here. I can't see. Can I look at what? Okay. So I can look at after I'm done here. Okay. So about 3:30. Okay. Give me till like 3:30. Go have fun. Go play. So I'm live on YouTube. He doesn't. Okay. I'll see you in a little bit.
It's the little floaty.
Oh yeah, the donut. Thank you. I can see it. Can you close my door, please? Thank you. Go say hi to your dad. Oh wow. I forgot what I was about to say. So I know that he just said that he didn't do the thing, and he's wiping his eye again. I don't see tears. And I think this is what he desperately wants the jury to believe. He does not want to be found guilty. Not at all. But okay.
But as you can see, I attempted suicide. Um,
And he just says it nonchalantly. Do you know what I mean? Just like the way, like, oh, you know, like I had pancakes for breakfast. You know, like I went to the grocery store. You know, like he just kind of said it nonchalantly. Okay.
and SWAT came in and pulled me out and put me into that ambulance. Detective Jappy came into the ambulance, and when he came to the ambulance, he came in to extract a confession from me.
And so he probably was like, hey, go on ahead. I know you probably have a lot weighing on you. Go on ahead and just like it'll free your conscience if you just admit it. Like he probably did say something like that. I don't know. Like I could see the police are able to do things like that when they think you've done a crime.
Um, it was conveyed that if I would just plead guilty, that
Objection.
Sustained.
and in response, I said that I'm innocent, but I don't want my family to go through this, this thing that's going to happen.
I think it was probably more about him. I don't think it was about his family. I could be wrong. I don't think it was about his family. Or it was about how it would make him look in relation to his family.
I guess what I said exactly was,
I guess what I said exactly. Not what I said. I guess what I said exactly. No.
I know that I would prove I'm innocent at trial, but I don't want my family to go through the pain.
I don't think that's what he said at the time. I don't think that's what he said. I don't think that's what he said at all. I think that's what he wants the jury to think he said. That's his opinion. That would have been something great to say in that moment. I don't think it's what he said. I don't think so.
And I wish that I had the audio to prove that to you, but apparently it doesn't exist.
How convenient for everybody, but I don't know. Okay, so now I want to fast forward a little bit to talk about those shoe lifts. 4855. I have the full link to the full video if you would like, for some reason, if you want to see all of this. The links are down below. He's going to ask for his shoes, or if he can stand up to show his shoes. I'll go back so we can see him ask the judge this.
Handle things is I figure out ways to do things legally.
Okay, let's go back a little bit. This might be important.
Produced. Thank you, sir. The way that I handle things is I figure out ways to do things legally. And I'll discuss that in a little.
Did you see the way that he looked? I wonder if he thought the prosecution was going to object right there. I find ways to do things legally, and he did this look. I'm going to go back. We have to see that one more time. Because when he said that, he looks over like, am I going to get away with saying this? And he did. It's fine. Whatever. Sure. You say you do things legally.
I handle things is I figure out ways to do things legally. And I'll discuss that in a little bit as to what I was planning. Your Honor, may I just stand up for one moment to show the jury why I didn't wear name brand shoes at the office? Just for a moment, and
You just want to stand up?
right where I'm at.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, I don't know if you noticed the height difference. I I wear lifts in my shoes. I'm about 6'5.5", and
So that's where I think he misspoke. So we're gonna go back. And the lifts are probably like you probably wouldn't notice. So he's probably going from 5'6" to maybe 5'8", but he's I think he's gonna misspeak here, but the jury was listening because they're gonna ask him a question about it later.
so
Okay, he's gonna go down. Okay, there we go.
I don't know if you noticed the height difference. I I wear lifts in my shoes. I'm about 6'5.5", and
He wishes.
uh,
He
call it a
wishes.
vanity thing, right? I just wanted to feel a little taller. And so, if I may just demonstrate why this is important. So, these shoes that have built-in lifts, they're designed in a certain way where they don't slip off a person's foot when you're wearing them, right? You can see how this is so elongated because there's a lift in here, right? So
So the reason why he's trying to say this is why it couldn't have been me because I don't wear name brand shoes because I wear lifts. Okay.
you can't put, it's not, from what I've tried, I could not put a lift in a name brand shoe because that shoe would slip right off. There's not enough of the back of this, once that lifts in there,
Same. Yeah.
in order to grab a hold of your foot.
So y'all, I get things wrong all the time, okay? And that's where like I had to start this video acknowledging, "Hey buddy, hey y'all, I got it wrong the other day. I said something wrong. I was thinking it should have been Jeff. I said Jeremy. I'm sorry." So I don't have anything wrong with that. The only thing is um I think the fact the jury heard this and was like, "Wait a minute, is that what the jury is paying attention?" And so, yes.
So essentially, I'd be kicking my shoes off every time I walk. So I never wore again any type of name brand shoe at the office, and I think that's something that will likely be discussed at closing.
So he's going to want his lawyer to discuss that at closing. I wonder if he's going to try to do the closing himself. I want to skip ahead to 109. He is just
Right. So it's not like I've got to answer any of these things, right? And then I was done at the gym. I want to say I typically take about an hour there, and so it was. I don't know why I would have missed this call if I was in the shower or whatever. This would have been from the vendor for my daughter's diabetes supplies. So they left a message, and if you scroll down, it looks like they left a message about a sensor for my daughter. I forget. And if you could go, so here again, like I said, you should have no doubts about the fact that I had my phone on me. Whatever anybody tries to argue.
this is going to be important on cross, okay? You should have no doubts that I had my phone on me. Remember that part cuz cross-examination that's going to become important.
Because again, I clearly had it. Went from the check-in. I say I had it all day.
I
They may
say,
try to argue
wait a minute,
otherwise,
wait a minute, wait a minute.
um,
I say I had it all day. That's a lawyer for you. I say I had it all day. I say I didn't eat the cookie. That's where like so when I'm pulled over. So I told y'all I don't get pulled over much. I know how like what the police have their things set on. In Virginia, it's normally like 10 to 15 over, normally 15, or reckless driving. Like that's normally what the officers have. So it's normally 80 miles per hour and like 15 over. That's normally what they have it set at. I go like 5 to like 7, 8, maybe 10. So if I ever am pulled over and they say, "Ma'am, how fast were you going?" I don't know. Because if I say I was going 15 over, but they clocked me at 13, they're going to say, "Ma'am, you were going 15 over." but he only got me at 13. So I need to know, what did you get me at? Okay. I'm not encouraging anything. Okay. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, like, okay, what's happening? He said, I say, I say I had my phone with me all day. Unless they have evidence to the contrary, I'm saying I had my phone on me. That is my opinion. Sir.
So when we continue on again, there's that message.
So painful.
Then my ex-wife sends me a message at 1:26, and I don't immediately respond to it. And I don't feel the need to respond to every single text message immediately. I don't know,
I did.
I'm personally that way. If I don't find a sense of urgency in it, I believe it can wait a bit. Sometimes I won't respond to, even if it's a person who's sending me a text message, I won't respond to the next day. It's just whatever mood I'm in.
I think that was the truth. I think that was the truth. He responds when he wants to, depending on what mood he's in. I think that was true.
So I personally don't think that there's anything suspicious about my phone use here.
I personally don't think, as the defendant, I do not think there's anything suspicious about my phone use. Okay.
Thank you, sir, very
So
much.
much over explaining, Tanika. So much.
So I went to the gym, like I said, at about 12 and got checked in about 12:09. Did my workout, went home, picked up kids later. And, I can't imagine the kind of person that would.
Sustained.
So I personally can't imagine myself to be the kind of person.
Sustained.
He knows
I
better.
am not the kind of person who would stab someone.
The objection was sustained.
Okay.
So to me, he comes off manipulative. I believe I think, is he still married? I think he's still married to that wife. I think they might still be married, but that could be for legal reasons too. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I could see him thinking it would look better if they were still married, because he's going to say she forgave me for the affair. He's going to say so many things. But the way that, so I think I think when he said my ex, I think that was his other ex-wife, because I think this is wife number 2 or 3. The one that he cheated on during this whole time. I think that's wife number 2 or 3 or something. I could be wrong. But yes. It is like he's over here, like, cuz he knows what he's doing is against the rules, and he's trying to see what he can get away with, like a petulant child. Like, he got and you can see that face. Like, that's like, what you gonna do? The words are out. Like, what do you? I don't believe I was speeding, officer. It didn't feel like I was going. I might have. I don't know. I've never said that before. Because I've never gotten any tickets where I've had to, like, go to court. I'm always just able to pay them. I've only had 2, and in both situations, I thought the speed limit was 10 miles higher than it was, and it wasn't. It was a speed trap each and every time.
So I've never beat anybody up. I've never killed anybody.
I was surprised but I think the state didn't even wanna fight this part, because I don't think his past DV with his current wife came in to, because he has put his hands on people before. His wife, his I think his current wife, at least. So he has had instances of being aggressive. I think he was drinking alcohol at the time, but still. But so I stay on 95, so Interstate 95. 64, they expanded it to like 3 or 4 lanes. I'm so glad, because I used to commute from because there was a section from Newport News to Williamsburg that was 2 lanes. And people, the left lane is for passing, not cruising. And I don't have road rage, but I'm right before road rage. Not really. Like I'm just like, so I get over into the right so that I'm not mad. And then I might go faster than them on the right. Is it technically passing on the right? Lawyers don't let me know if it is or not. I've never gotten in trouble for it.
I didn't kill Mr. Gurman.
Oh, the speed there. Sure. Oh, let's
And
increase it.
that's my testimony.
So that's how he ended it. I did not do it. That is my testimony. Okay. We are going to skip ahead and to the state 14627. That's where we're going to skip ahead to 146 because they're going to come back because the state is going to try to get something in. And he's not going to be happy about it. And so the state and defense are having a conversation, and the state's probably like, "Hey, he opened this door, like this comes in," and so they're gonna have a little conversation, and then they're gonna take a break later. But let me see if I can get to the part. Okay, that's where they took the break. Okay, right here.
That the hearing's taking place outside.
So this is a hearing outside of the jury.
Is there an issue?
Yes, there's a question as to what doors perhaps were open in reference to communications between Mr. Tellis and Roberta.
The defense looked a little nervous when asking that question to me personally. So the defense, because the state is going to try to bring in evidence that there were inappropriate messages that the reporter, that Jeff was going to have access to, and that this is what kind of escalated things. And so that's what they're going to have a conversation about.
There's been production made. We've had certain communications produced. We need to go through those. I think there's going to be a dispute as to what the scope, what's to be turned over, what's not. If there's been a privilege that's been previously asserted or not, if there's been any waiver. I think that's something we're not going to get done until after lunch. We're going through them.
Can we start and then that issue can,
I would prefer to know we can just lay it out pretty easily. Mr. Tellis got up here and wanted all of the team's messages admitted into evidence. So that would be our request. There has been a production that we have, that the defense has, of team's messages. We provided those messages. Sounds like the defense's concern is maybe there's another production of team's messages because, I mean, the long and short of it is some of the team's messages contains information that I think Mr. Tellis finds fairly damaging. And so he wanted them in. We agreed, fine, let's let them in. And now there's an issue of, well, I don't necessarily, I don't know that those are all of the messages. So what we're trying to nail down is the information. I mean, they have these have been produced. I can see in our files, these have been produced. I don't exactly know exactly what he is looking at. I know the nature of the emails, the nature of the team's messages that are the source of consternation for Mr. Tellis has nothing to do with an attorney-client privilege. It has nothing to do with, something that would be privileged to the public administration's office. It just deals with something else. So
what's the privilege?
Again, it could go into bad. Well, we need to see what privilege was previously asserted or not. It's the state's argument. I understand their argument. They're saying that Mr. Tellis, by his request, opened the door. As we addressed yesterday, Mr. Tellis is testifying in a narrative sense. We put the court on notice. The court allowed that to occur.
Sure.
My concern is we would like to pull up on the jabs or otherwise what specific request he had made. There may have been a misunderstanding on the part of the state what it was that he was asking to have admitted. We want the break to go through that because it's the scope of what his request was. Obviously, it wasn't in response to a question or request that I had made. It was that made by Mr. Tellis. But again, I'd like to see.
He put that on the record so that Tejas can't say like ineffective assistance of counsel or something. Like if this gets in, like, hey, this got in because he said it. Like, is he protecting the record for that? I'm not a lawyer. It seemed a little like that to me personally.
That on the video, which we'll be able to address over the lunch break, because I think it's concerning a scope of the production.
Well, Well, what do you think it was, Mr. Draskowitz? I mean, because it appeared to me as though, just a minute, it appeared to me as though he was requesting, the witness that came and testified and talked about that production that was about to happen, I don't know, like the first part of September. I mean, that appeared to be what he was asking the state to put on a disc and produce.
So what I was requesting to produce is actually what was produced to me
Okay.
in support of what was going to produce to Mr. Gurman.
And this is where, so he's very analytical and he's good at turning things for what he wants. He's very, very good at that. Some people call that manipulation. He's very good at twisting things, and so that's what he's gonna kind of do.
And so any and all, messages of any personal nature in the review of the documents that I saw, and anything personal, like, talk about perhaps going to the mall or whatever, that was already removed by the time I viewed it. So when Mr. Hender's coming here with these messages, that was pre-trimmed. So I believe he's going to say that, look, this is why Mr. Tejas decided he was going to be angry, but that's not true, because the version that I saw had already trimmed out all these personal messages. So it's misleading the jury about what reverse
It's not being trimmed out. You
So
mean by the
basically,
county?
yeah, Clark County has a policy where they run it through various personnel, because their policy is to only produce business records,
Okay.
no matter what. They do not allow for the production in public records requests for messages of anything of a personal nature. And so, again, I believe it's in bad faith that Mr. Hamner is trying to show the original production and not what I personally saw. Because what I saw,
And I think his law license. So I heard another lawyer say, I don't know if this is true or not. I'll have to Google it. I think his law license has been suspended. I don't know that he's I don't know that he's able to practice law. I don't know that he's able to. That might be why he had to go with co-counsel. I heard somebody else say that something happened with his license after all of these charges and everything like that. He has this desperate need to control, and he is very analytical. And I think he thinks that he's 10, 20 steps ahead. And part of that, some of those possible narcissistic traits makes him overestimate just how smart and analytical he is, because he likely did open this door and he's trying to BS his way out of it. Like that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, and he was a probate lawyer. He was never a criminal lawyer. He was a probate lawyer. Yes, he was not a trial lawyer.
I had nothing that referenced the mall or anything like that. And, and if Ms. Lee Kennett had any such concern, she would have said the same thing. She would have said, well, yeah, I had a concern with this, but clearly she saw the same messages I did. We saw no concern because personal messages had already been stripped out. And now we're at the point where Mr. Hammer's trying to mislead the jury about what I saw.
And obviously, this predates this gentleman being charged. This predates, we're not talking about production due to course
It's
of
Freedom of
discovery in a
Information
criminal
Act
case.
request.
And this obviously predated this case. So we're talking about back when Mr. Tellis was at the public administrator's office,
Right.
what he was given, what he saw. And I think that goes to the very point. It's referring to what his knowledge was back in that time. And that's why we want to address the scope of what it is the state intends to produce.
Mr. Hammond?
Our position is, we have these two messages. It's not about taking a walk. We'll call it out for what it is. I mean, it is, they are romantic messages between those two.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, that's the reality of it. That's what's in the team's messages. I have team's messages here that contain that. They may be right. Maybe there is a
Great question, misconduct. So, of course, I cannot diagnose him. I do not know him. I've never met with him. There's a lot that goes into a clinical diagnosis. Based on the publicly available information, there seems to at least be signs of some narcissistic traits. And often, to be a lawyer, sometimes not every lawyer, not all lawyers, but sometimes doctors, psychologists, sometimes people have this kind of like, I think I'm good. Sometimes that confidence, a little bit of that. The problem with narcissism is that it covers incompetence sometimes. Does that make sense? Where somebody is overestimating their intelligence, they're overestimating things, they're only concerned with how things appear and not necessarily reality. Sometimes there can be this lack of empathy for other people, how their behavior impacts other people, seeing people as a means to an end instead of actual people, seeing people as objects instead of actual people. And so that's where, if I were to meet, that would be one diagnosis, or there are at least some traits. I don't know if he'd meet criteria for the full personality disorder because this is how he looks in a situation like this. So I'd want to know how he was in other areas of his life. But it does seem to point toward, at minimum, possibly some traits. All right. So they're gonna go on lunch and they're gonna figure out what's gonna happen. Y'all correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I don't think those messages came in. I don't think they came in. And so we're going to 3 hours 07. 3:07. This case has long breaks. These breaks are so long. So this can be the cross examination. And if this is the assistant DA, because somebody has said it's the ADA, this individual is like, he does a phenomenal job cross-examining Tellus. Tejas. Yes. Let's go. And just for the chat, we are at 1.25 speed. Okay.
Okay, you may keep doing your cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Sir.
And it's Mr. Tejas, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to start first with see if we can agree on a couple of things. Okay. I was listening to your testimony. I'm going to publish States 311. I was listening to your testimony, and if I heard you correctly, many times during your direct examine or during your direct, you stated that this is the killer of Mr. Damon, correct?
I didn't necessarily, but I'm sure it is.
I mean, if I heard you correctly, you kept saying, looking at the killer, this guy. I know that you're not saying that's me, but you don't doubt that whoever that is killed Mr. Garman. That would be fair, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What that just did is, if the jury suspects that that guy is him, then process of elimination, he just got him to admit that that's so the jury, if the jury thinks that's him, then okay.
You had mentioned one of the things that struck you was you watched the autopsy, you saw the autopsy photos, and you were struck by the violence of it, correct?
No, sir.
No, you did not. Were you bothered by the photographs?
I was.
And why is that?
Gruesome. I'm not used to seeing dead people.
Okay. I think you said it was ugly. Is that correct?
I may have.
All right.
And so I'm just going to interrupt real quick because I do think sometimes individuals that are from different cultures, sometimes they allow for a non-Spanish speaking saying of their name. So I knew a guy, his name was, that's where for the Sarah Boone case, I think his name is probably Jorge, but he went by George. And I think his family, I don't know if his name, I would suspect his name was actually Jorge, but he goes by George. So sometimes with especially with Spanish speakers, with people from different countries, they will have a way for Americans to say their name, or they'll for a non-fluent speaker, I'll just assimilate into the culture and allow people to say this. I do think it's important to say people's names the way that you're supposed to. So that's why I always try to get it if I can. I always try if I can. But it's really common. So for somebody whose last name is Tejas to accept like Tellus, or because people are going to say, they're probably going to say it wrong. And then so I'll just leave it there. All right. That's how I saw that.
You had told this jury that you felt like it looked like someone who knew what they were doing. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You believe this was a professional hit?
And that's what I believe.
Okay. And you believe this killer is kind of almost like someone hired to do this job, like an assassin, essentially, right?
That is what I believe, yes, sir.
All right. Now, I want to take a look at this picture for a second. The assassin seems to be wearing a giant sun hat.
I don't know how he said that with a straight face. His face almost wasn't straight. The assassin seems to be wearing a straw hat. Help me, is is that what they normal I normally see like ski mask or I don't know, but like a straw hat, that seems unique. Yes. So this is a real picture. This is the real person that was captured on camera walking away from Gehrman's house. So this is a very real picture. So this picture, this is correct. This is the person that was seen walking, I think, away or something like this. This picture is a real picture that was taken. And they have pieces of gray shoes and pieces of a straw, something straw, possibly that straw hat. They found that at his house. Okay. So like this is all a real thing.
It's a pretty big hat, right?
Yes, sir.
Huge.
Fairly noticeable, right?
Yes, sir.
I wonder if it was his wife's. So I have a hat kind of I didn't do this on purpose. I wonder if it was do y'all think it was his nobody talked about this. Is he wearing his wife's hat? Y'all, did we just solve the crime? Is he wearing his wife's hat? I have another one somewhere else. I like big sun hats. I have big, but sometimes workers. So sometimes people that do yard work, sometimes people that do work outside. Sometimes they have big hats like that because they don't have him buying that hat. Did he take his wife's hat? I would be so mad if my husband took my hat, did a crime, and then like destroyed my hat. Now I'd be more upset about him doing the crime. But like, and you messed up my hat. My hat is now evidence. I'm sorry. Y'all, we have to laugh to keep from
You
crying.
think that might attract attention?
I would think so.
Okay, but this is a professional.
Right.
All right. And this professional is also wearing a bright orange shirt, correct?
Yes, sir.
Professional?
Yes, sir.
But wouldn't that attract attention?
I think that's part of the reason, actually. If I could elaborate.
No. You believe that professional assassins want to draw attention to themselves when they're carrying out murder. That's your testimony?
When they're framing someone, yes, sir.
So the answer to my question is yes. You believe professional assassins like to draw attention to themselves.
It depends on what the nature of their goal is, and if it's to frame someone, yes, sir.
So the answer to my question is yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Your professional assassin is wearing a big saddlebag, right?
It's a big bag.
Right. He's wearing Nikes, correct?
Correct.
Not generic shoes, Nikes, isn't that right?
Right.
Okay. Gray Nikes, is that right?
Correct.
All right. Let's cue over to the overhead, if we could, or to the computer, if we could. All right.
I used to love Perry Mason.
Playing the PIO video from Exhibit 338. So this is your assassin walking in the middle of the day, correct?
My assassin?
And I think he does have a little limp like that. I do think he has. I think he walks. I think he has a little, like I think he walks. That's where I wonder if that lift is to correct. So there are people where like one leg is a little longer than the other, and so sometimes having a lift does help with something like that. So maybe he couldn't put lifts in a shoe like this. What's the jury gonna think?
All right, this is the assassin, the killer, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Seems to have a little bit of a hitch in his getup.
Yes. I don't know. It's an opinion.
And you don't disagree that's from you've seen all the footage. That's the killer's car, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a maroon Denali. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
I used to watch.
You
that one,
own
too.
a maroon Denali, isn't that correct?
I do, sir. Yes, sir.
Me too.
Let me at least get to. Let's look at it for a second. So there's no doubt that the killer took a maroon Yukon Denali to Gehrman's house to perform, as you have explained to us, to be some sort of professional hit.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'd like to publish the PowerPoint if we could. It's still from Exhibit 338, Your Honor. But it is the PowerPoint.
So he was trying to destroy evidence.
I want to turn our attention to slide number 72. This is after.
Yeah, Dr. Seuss is coming, and I got that from I think I was watching Lawyer Lee. I think that's how you say it. Y'all know me in names. I want to say she's from, it used to be Harvard lawyer, but she had to change it. Harvard sent her a message. I think it's lawyer Lee. She does phenomenal coverage. I think I was watching her coverage and she pointed out his cat in the hat moment. I did not. And we'll get to it later.
Mr. Gehrman has been killed, but if we watch this footage, isn't it true that we see the killer come back to the scene?
Yes.
And the killer seems to be looking around as if he forgot something, right?
I've watched the video. I don't know what he's doing.
We don't know.
Right.
But
Right.
we know a professional killer killed someone in broad daylight, made it a point to park on a completely different street, but then for some reason decided, oops, I forgot something, and drove all the way back.
My belief is that he wanted to make sure to commit the crime. And then when he was done, he wanted to make sure the SUV was seen in front of the house.
Oh,
Okay, so this is my ADHD moment, okay? So seriously, so she graduated from Harvard. So like her whole thing, but they didn't want their name associated with her brand or whatever. Like it was weird. They sent her like a you need to change. She has phenomenal coverage. It's Lawyer Lee. I've also been watching Melanie Little, her coverage as well. I'm sure she'll be at 100K subs soon. Like Melanie Little has been doing great coverage. She has a ton of snark. Um, Lawyer Lee doesn't have as, which is fine. Like she doesn't do a lot of snark. Melanie Little, a ton. I love it. I love lawyers with a little bit of snark. Y'all know my other favorite defense attorney is Natalie, lawyer chick. Karen, legal minded Karen friends. Karen does coverage of cases as well. She's here in the chat, and I'm gonna have to check out Tanika's 2 cents. I feel like I subbed to your channel. I'm not sure. I saw somebody mentioning that they enjoyed your coverage. I appreciate support, and I wanted to highlight some people. Um, oh gosh. I knew that he was sick. I'll have to send some love in the chat. I remember that I knew that he was sick. He had been sick for a little bit. I am very, yeah, that hurts my heart to hear that. All right. We're gonna get back to this.
so let me get this straight. We've watched the footage, right, Mr. Tellis?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that the Yukon parks on Wintergreen initially?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the streets, but I mean, if you say so, yes.
We'll put it this way. He didn't park on Bronze Circle, did he?
Not initially, no.
And by your logic, if the killer wanted to be seen, shouldn't he have just parked on Bronze Circle originally?
I would have thought that, if he wanted to make sure he got the job done first, that he would not have actually parked the SUV in front of it to begin with.
Oh, so
That's my belief, because
okay.
again, that isn't me.
So you have a killer who goes all the way out of his way to park on a completely different street, walks the whole length, does the killing, drives out of the complex.
But this is the danger of potential narcissistic traits. I think he thinks he's smarter than everybody in the room. And this isn't looking good. This is not good. And I think he thinks he knows where he's going with things, but stuff is going to come out. And I don't think he was really ready for it. I like Hidden True Crimes coverage as well. The husband is a forensic psychologist and the wife is a reporter. I've seen some of her reporting on this too. So hopefully everything's okay with Runkle. Okay, good. Runkle, good. Okay, he's on vacation. Good. Runkle's on vacation. Cool. I watch his coverage too.
And then makes a U-turn, comes all the way back into the complex, pulls up, gets out, looks around for something, and you believe that's all part of the assassin's plan?
And again, I don't know what he's doing in that video.
No, I'm just using your word.
So to me, everything that was done seems amateurish because in Teaz's in his narrative testimony, he tried to say that this must have been done by somebody with training, and he doesn't have that training, so it couldn't have been him because the throat was and they were in the heart, and so they were trying to make it sound. He was trying to make it sound like you need all of these skills to do that, and people in the chat were like Jodi Arias, and she was smaller, like she did it, and she didn't have any training at all, and so that's where he's trying to put on this defense, and there are big holes in it. And I personally think the jury is going to see those holes.
your thought process, do you
absolutely.
believe that was all part of the plan?
I do. It wasn't me. So
Sir, doesn't that look a little amateurish?
I would like to think that I wouldn't use my own car if I was actually the person who did this.
Well,
So,
Well, doesn't it look a little amateurish to take the steps, park on the side of the street, then you forget what you dropped, probably your murder weapon, who knows, wear this goofy sun hat, a bright orange shirt. I mean,
The snark. Maybe your murder weapon. Who knows? I love this guy.
if you really think that looks like professional killer.
I do. Again,
Okay.
it wasn't me. So
Okay.
yes.
All right, sir. And when you looked at the car, you thought, gosh, that looks just like my vehicle, right?
Except for the rims. Yes, sir.
Sure, we'll get to the rims in a second. In fact, let's talk about that right now.
Yes, sir.
So during his narrative, he tried to say the rims are different from his car rims. And that's where he's just putting his foot in his mouth. Like that was not a good thing to say. That was not a good idea. It just wasn't. He tried to say, I saw this picture on Twitter and it didn't look like my car. Also, like, and we're just gonna remember, don't do crimes, okay? I know it's don't do crimes. But like, okay.
Let's go to slide 41.
I'm gonna fast forward.
You see, sir, do you see?
Okay, so they're going to go through excruciating detail to say that both of these cars are the same. Okay, so they're going to go excruciating detail, and he's going to have to admit that yes, his car does look like the killer's car, and he's not going to have a good to me. He's not going to have a good explanation for that. He's just not. All right, let's play it from here.
Your testimony was, my rims are different. Let's look, no, sir, I'm questioning pending. Let's look at the front tire. You see the front tire?
Yes, sir.
The one closest to the 12 o'clock position is,
And they're going to go through that these rims are exactly the same. Okay? They just are. Was there something here?
Rims, yes.
it does. But that's not what you just told that jury on direct examination. You said you looked at a tweet from General Bob Custer and you thought, oh, gosh, my rims.
Yes,
You
because
relied on some person in the Twitter group to give you peace of mind about whether or not your car matches the killer's car.
yes,
So now looking at your rims, because let's look at them. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spokes on that wheel, correct?
yes, sir.
Just like the killer's car.
Similar to the killer's car. Yes,
Not
sir.
similar, exactly like it, correct?
Like he's still not admitting, because I don't know if he's trying. You know how you have those two pictures and you're like, find the difference? I don't know if he's thinking the jury is going to somehow, one person's going to be able to find a difference between these two cars, but there really isn't one. There isn't one. And this was his wife's car. Okay. This was his wife's car.
They're not the same rims.
Sir, then let's take it this way. The 12 o'clock position is a fat white.
They're going to have to go through it again because he's not going to want to admit reality. Okay. Like it's the same rims, dude. And he's not going to want to admit it. So we're going to skip that part. Okay. Let's start from here.
Accused of a series of things, including creating emotional stress on your employees, correct?
Right.
Bullying?
Right.
And engaging in an inappropriate relationship, correct?
Right.
Okay. When you sat down to do this interview, did you want to get the truth?
So they're talking about the interview that he did with the reporter.
To a certain extent, yes. But when it came to the office issues, yes, sir.
When you sat down, when you spoke with him, were you truthful in your interview?
Not entirely. No.
Okay. What were you untruthful about?
About the extent of the relationship with me and Roberta Lee Kennett.
Okay. What was different? What did you say versus the truth?
I said that, she and I had no affair. But, regrettably, we did have, and when I say regrettably, I think we both regret the mistake, but we both.
He still seems uncomfortable admitting the affair now. So to me, when he's saying this now, it sounds like he's uncomfortable saying it even now. I want to give a thank you to Sherry and Max for becoming a member. Thank you for the super sticker. I played it up earlier, Martha Chapman. And thank you to Kathy. I watch Recovery Addict streams as well. I've missed his coverage of this. I've liked watching the lawyer coverage because it's just helped, and I've given them credit when they've said stuff. Yes. Yes. Do you want to go watch downstairs? Because remember, what time did I say I'm available? What time? What time? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yep. So data's available if you need anything. You can have a snack if you want a snack. All right. Thank y'all for letting me parent. Yes. Yeah, data can play at 5, but he's here. I'm just letting the world, like, your father is here. I'm not the only parent. I just I said I might be done at 3. Oh, wait. There's no way I'm gonna be done at 3:30. So earlier I told him that I could play because we're gonna watch TV at 4. So that's what I told him earlier. I did say come check. I might be done by 3:30. Christy, you are very right. So I always want him to know that he is the priority. Like, even though I'm not going to leave the stream at this very moment. Now, if something happened, and I think when he was a little younger, like one time I think I was live, and there was a weird sound or something, and I think I did stop my stream to go figure out, like, I think he had fallen or something. So if something was wrong, I would stop it. But he just wants to he just wants to play. And I believe in clear boundaries. And so I am going, he's 7. So my child is 7 years old. He was just on the iPad for a little bit. He is going to go play. His father is right here. So my husband trades stocks, and so he's like researching and doing stuff. And so he is available. He's not live on YouTube right now. I forgot what I was going to say. All right. So he's trying to, when he's talking about the affair, I'm going to rewind it a little bit because he seems uncomfortable even talking about the affair now.
She and I had no affair, but
Because did you hear how he said it under his breath? Affair. Like, he didn't say we had an affair. He's like he even seems to have difficulty. Like, it's bringing shame saying it now, but in the way of getting caught. Not, I don't know if he feels bad about what he did. I think it's more of the effect that it has, like, on his wife and on his family. It's probably a point of stress in the relationship, I could imagine. But
regrettably, we did have, and I say regrettably, I think we both regret the mistake, but we both.
And he's putting it on both of them, and not just him. He was her superior. That's my understanding. Like, he's like saying it breathy. Affair? Like, okay. I am 42 years old. I do not. I'm done. I'm good and done. I'm premenopausal, and I don't like. Nope. No thanks. He has friends, and on our yep. Nope. I'm done. He has cousins. We just came back from Jacksonville, Florida, visiting his play cousins, my best friend's kids, and he has cousins. One in Virginia, no, 2 in Virginia, and 1 in North Carolina that we visit as well. Closed, done. Okay, it would be so if I got a whoopsie, I would do like, but like, there's no plans. There's no plans. Uh, uh, mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. So my least favorite part. So I love him this age. My least favorite part is 0 to 2 years old. Like, maybe 3. 3. Whew, nobody warned me about 3. 3, I need a whole chapter in the new book. I need a whole chapter just on 3. Dylan, 3? No. So I wish more people had been honest about not liking babies. So, like, it was cute. I loved him when he slept. Like, it was so cute when he slept. My kid did not sleep well, and so, like, I had to, like, manage my mental health in big ways. I ended up back in therapy. Like, he did not sleep well. And it was a lot. Okay. That was not a joy. I have pictures. I look back at them fondly, but I liked when he was sleeping. If I could do things different, I would. My husband would be more a part of like nighttime feedings and stuff like that. Like it was a lot. I love other people's babies because I can give them back. Okay. So if you had a baby, I'd be like, oh, I would hold your baby. When they started crying or pooped, I would give them back to you. Okay. I like babies that I can give back. Not ones that look at me like, keep me alive. Babies are like, yeah, it's so much work to keep them alive. Like it's, it's, it was a lot of energy. I went back to work 6 weeks, 6 weeks into, I was ready to go back at 6 weeks. I went back kind of part-time. My maternity leave was crap. My maternity leave, it was shitty. It was so bad because they only gave me a percentage of my salary, but half of my check was my outpatient work. They only gave me a percentage, and that was the insurance. Like it was crap insurance that the company had. But my mom watched my kiddo for those first years. I worked about 40 hours a week. My mom kept him from 6 weeks until 18 months, and then he went to daycare. My mom is a single mom, and so she didn't get those days with me. I was with a nanny and with my aunt and in daycare, and so it was really cool that she got to be with him. All right, but yeah, so like, whew, those early years, that was way too much. I love that I can tell him like, hey, I could not stream right now if I had a baby. Like if my baby was crying, I would have to like get off and do all those, which would be fine. Like it would be like I would do it, but I like these years. I don't want the baby phase again. No, no, no. I will watch other people's kids. I will play with other people's kids, and then I will send them home. I'm the only child from my mom, and my husband is the only child from his parents. I have two brothers and a sister from my dad and stepmom, and but I didn't live with them, so I don't mind the only child thing. I don't think he needs a sibling. Like he'll be all right between him and his therapist in the future. But yes, no problem. YouTube, no, like no need to announce your departure. Like if you need to depart, go on ahead and feel free to find another stream. You can even press the dislike button. YouTube might still send you my stuff if you do, but yeah, it is what it is. Uh, let's see. Let's keep going.
We had a romantic affair with each other.
Okay, so you did lie to him, correct, on that topic?
I didn't think that was for the public's business.
That's not my question. My question
Yes,
is,
I did lie regarding that particular issue, yes.
now, you would agree with me, at the moment you sat down for that interview, you were in the throngs of a re-election campaign, correct?
Yes, sir.
You would agree with me that the public administration job was something very important to you.
I mean, sure, yes. Obviously, again, it was important at the time, yes.
I mean, well, listen, you told us a little bit about your story. I mean, right? I mean, you put yourself through law school, you opened up a law firm, you were elected to this job. You were proud of the work you were doing at the PA's office, correct?
It absolutely was.
Okay, and you wanted to remain in that job, correct?
I certainly did.
Okay. And you would agree with me that if you had been entirely truthful, that may not have helped your election prospects. Would that be correct?
That was certainly not the sole motivation for lying.
And I understand that, but that is a factor, correct?
I don't know. Again, I don't know that I necessarily consider that to be the primary factor, or honestly consider it to be a factor at all. My main concern was,
I don't consider that to be a factor. But is that because that's part of their motive? Like that's where the jury is going to have to parse out this, and I think the prosecution is going to get him to admit something, but they're going to do it quickly, and they're going to come back to it again. But we'll pause it for that part.
having any embarrassment or any, for both of our families, that kind of thing.
And listen, that's totally fair, right? You're concerned about your family, maybe you're concerned about Roberta's family. Understood. And that for you is the main reason why you're not being truthful about that.
Right.
Okay. So you sit down. Did you feel after speaking with him that you thought Gehrman would give you a fair shake?
I did. I thought we had a pretty good conversation. I walked outside with him. I told him more about
a lot of the issues that had occurred at the office before I got there, and about the way that, well, the strange things that had happened. That I won't get into it, but yes, I thought by the time we were done that, you know, that he understood what was really going on at the office.
Okay, and when he, sorry, excuse me 1 second. When that was published, you were very upset, correct?
Yeah, I was shocked at, you know, what ended up coming out versus what we had discussed. Yes, sir.
Were you devastated?
I don't know if and you know, that are, you know, consider myself devastated on anything. I was certainly upset. I was, you know, hurt for, you know, that this came out, but that was that day. That was that day.
Sure. And on that day, and let's just be clear, because not only does it potentially jeopardize your work, but it jeopardizes potentially the family stability. Fair?
And I'm not sure he would want to admit the impact that it truly had, even if it didn't affect his, because he seems to minimize some things. And I don't know if it's just because it's part of the prosecution's motive and everything, but he seems to minimize a lot.
In a sense, yes, my wife did forgive me, but you know, it certainly, it wasn't good optically for, you know, obviously my children, and, you know, have them teased by other kids or what have you. So from that respect,
And I don't know if kids would, like if it's a public administrator, I don't know if that would make it to school, but it might. I don't know.
it was a little hard on them.
And here's the thing. He didn't have to write it the way he did, but he chose to do so, correct?
Certainly, yes.
And you talked to him about how upset you were when you saw, I'm assuming, an advanced copy of it, at least before.
No, I believe it's actually after it was released. I think people have been misstating the date of the article, because I think my text was after. I don't know if it got republished and the date changed or what have you.
Yeah, so, and like if we publish 353A, we can see here, the date on this is May 16th, correct? But you agree sometimes what happens is like the RJ will throw up an article online at night, and so maybe it's the.
So I'm going to skip ahead to 1431. Here we go. Let's just skip ahead just a little bit.
I think we're going to pull this out, correct?
Obviously, you know, you always want to have an optimistic face no matter what, but I wasn't 100%.
They're talking about his reelection, like how he felt about his reelection, because he was going into a primary.
Not sure that I was going to win or not.
Okay. But ultimately, you lose. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you don't place second.
When he said you lose, okay, I'm going to go back so we can watch that again, because he seemed to show like he was upset on his face. We're going to watch that real quick.
Family that, you know, yeah, I think we're going to pull this up, correct?
Obviously, you know, you always want to have an optimistic face no matter what, but I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to win or not.
Okay. But ultimately, you lose. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you.
That look over, that glance over is like, wow, okay. And I wonder if he thinks he's like trying to get to him or something, but for some reason he looked over. I don't know if he wanted his defense to object, or I don't know why he looked over that way, or if it was just for support, but for some reason he did a look that way in that moment. This seems to be upsetting him from what I'm seeing.
You don't place second. You end up placing third. Is that right?
Right. All three of us were pretty tight though, but yes.
Right. And I'm going to approach with what's been marked as stage proposed 377. Does that appear to be kind of the accurate outcome of the election?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's a fair and accurate depiction of those results.
I think so. Like I said, it was pretty close.
At this time, we're asking state permission to admit stage 377. Sure. Sorry about that.
And he often keeps the pencil in his hand. I've been in other chats where people have talked about the pencil, and I think that's partly control, and that's for him to take notes about things that he wants to say later. And that might also be a way for him to manage his emotions, like when he gets upset, to be able to like take a break, to kind of distance himself from what's being said, and to almost have this clinical analytical view, and to minimize whatever emotions might be coming up for him at this time.
No objection.
Publishing 377, you can cue over. So when we look at this, you don't lose by much, do you?
No.
I mean, but a little more than 2,000.
Wow. It was only like 2,000 votes. So the winner got 37,401, and then he got 35,200 and something. The logo is blocking that last part.
Votes, correct?
Right, right.
Jeff Garman didn't write any articles about Carolyn Escobar in a negative fashion, did he?
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, leading up to his election, he didn't do that, correct?
Correct?
He didn't do that about Rita.
No.
Fair to say, in your opinion, if Jeff Garman hadn't written these articles, you probably end up winning that primary.
All right. So there's a question. And when we talk about psychopathic versus sociopathic traits, the thing I'm most comfortable talking about are some of the narcissistic traits and the thing that a person does to protect their ego. So, did he go to an extreme? Because it seems like he blamed Gehrman for losing the election, losing his prestige. They're going to bring up text messages of like, what am I going to do for work? He might have blamed him for ruining his life. And so if all that hadn't happened, I don't know what he would have done, because somebody that's like a sociopath, they would have done what they were going to do no matter the outcome. Like they're just that, like they just do it because they enjoy the act. From viewing everything, it seems if he is guilty, it sounds like it was more about protecting his image, his ego, his reputation, the effect that it had on him. It seemed like it was more about that, and not wanting, because Gehrman was about to work on another article about him. And so it seems to be more about that. That's just how I personally see it. Some people might have knowledge about things from his history. It sounds like there were allegations of him being a bully, of him not having a very good workplace. There are allegations of DV, and I think substances. I think alcohol was involved for that. Not an excuse. It just kind of just I'm just saying, because alcohol lowers inhibitions. And so some people get very, very mean, and they can get very aggressive when they have substances. And so those are just some of my thoughts. Denny Don, that's how I see it. I see it about being about ego and reputation. That's how I see it. Like we have this is Saturday afternoon of murder. Like that's been our afternoon. If you don't know, so I covered the Wade Wilson. I covered some issues, his death penalty phase right before this video. And this one is kind of lighter for me. That one was a heavier one that I didn't want to think about too much. This one. So if he is found guilty, I don't know what the jury might sentence. I don't know what his sentence might be. I don't know. But I actually have more negative feelings towards like Christopher Gregor, like mm, uh Corey Micciolo's father, than like this guy. He's a jerk and all that. I have more negative feelings towards some other people than this particular individual. All right, so let's keep going.
Probably yes.
It had to be crushing, correct?
No, it was disappointing, but again, I knew that my chances were 50-50, so I was prepared for a loss. And I think my conciliation post on Facebook was pretty clear that, hey, you know what, we tried really hard, we gave it our go, but I'm going to go serve families as a probate attorney again. I'm ready to go back to work, and and I got a lot of support when I made that post.
Okay. But everything that you work for is gone because of a couple of articles that say things that you don't think are really true, correct? Especially about the work stuff, right?
It wasn't the articles per se. It was obviously Rita and Alicia,
who got Jeff Garman into the fold to publicly tear you down.
They did, yes.
And he agreed to do it.
Yeah.
So now I want to focus on just 2 days later. 2 days later. Oh, can we cue over? Sorry. 2 days later, Jeff Gehrman writes to you, correct?
Mhm.
At this point, you are kind of right on teetering on the verge of like conceding, correct?
I think it took a long time for the count to occur, like almost a week. So we were, again, this was a while back. So if I remember correctly, we were still waiting for the final outcome. And yeah, so this was.
So you're down as of May 16th. You're losing in the race, correct?
It was kind of like similar to what you saw on that report in the sense that things kept going up and down. But it was I think if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere in those 1,000, 2,000 between the three of us. But Rita would go up, then Caroline would go up, and so it was more of a tug of war between them. And that was pretty much
So it's
in
very-
third place
so
at all times.
So it's very close, right?
It was really close.
You don't know how this, at this point, as of June 16th, you still don't officially know how this one's going to shake out, correct?
Based on the fact that I never came out of third place during the whole thing, I was pretty sure that it was done.
Okay, but nevertheless, Jeff Gehrman comes calling again, correct?
Mhm. And it's about that truth website that I created.
Right, and you just say, it's fine at this point, they won, do what you like.
Mhm.
Fair to say you felt resigned at this point?
Yeah, like just what's it going to do at this point? Whatever,
Well, he wrote another one, correct?
Wait a minute.
That is, yes.
Wait a
Fair to
minute.
say you weren't happy with that?
I thought he got the death penalty. He got a brain scan? What? Whoa. The jury approved him for a brain scan. My bad. I thought all that was final. I'm sorry. I thought he got the death penalty. Okay. So he's being sentenced August 27th. I didn't so we'll have to talk about that maybe next Saturday again. Wow. My brain. Y'all know. Oh, my bad. I thought he had already got the death penalty. Thank y'all so much for this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the judge, okay, after the trial. Yeah, that didn't make sense. Okay, so this makes I don't know. But it's true. He did get a brain scan. There is something scheduled for the 27th. And with all the records and everything, because he could be granted an appeal if that didn't happen. Kat Randall, thank you so much for gifting someone with a membership. For insanity? Which one? For this one? Because he didn't admit that he did it. Because for an insanity defense, you have to admit that you did it. And he seemed to be very much in control, like covered up the crime. That would be like Letitia Stout trying to say she was insane, but she called in to work and like she did all the things to cover her crime across multiple states. Like, so that's where for this case, way too late for because he's not admitting that he did it. He's saying I didn't do it. I'm not guilty, period. That's what he's saying.
That coverage, it wasn't positive, was it?
Again, I don't remember if I cared or not. And I know I started to poke fun at him on Twitter, but it came to a point where it was just me trying to, I think, see if I couldn't get him to put more light on my website.
Okay. And so then on June 18th, he publishes this article number 3, correct?
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes.
And then just 6 days later on June 22nd, he publishes a 4th article about you officially losing, but pointing out that you remain combative, correct?
Yeah, which again was inaccurate, but sure. Yes.
Okay, so again,
I could imagine that he was combative. Do y'all think he was combative? He's denying being combative, or maybe it's a perception thing. Like maybe he doesn't see being demanding, and because Sarah Boone would also disagree that she's combative, but all her lawyers, everybody else will be like, the jail, everybody else will be like, you are demanding. She's like, I have requests. And so, okay.
it's inaccurate reporting about you, the 4th one.
Right. Like I said, by this point, I was just having fun with it.
Well, let's be, Mr. Tejas, you didn't like Jeff Gehrman by this point, did you?
Agreed.
I mean,
You won't even admit
sure,
that.
I did not like him.
You hated him, isn't that correct?
And I don't know if hate, I mean, there might have been various points throughout that where I might have felt like that, but I don't know that he was not a central figure in my life. I'll put it that way.
He is the figure that ends up causing you to leave your job as public administrator for Clark County, correct?
Again, I don't blame him per se. I blame Rita and I blame Alicia.
Sir, you just told this jury that if those articles weren't written, hold on,
Go
I'm
ahead.
not finished. You just told this jury, like 5 minutes ago, that if Mr. Gehrman hadn't written these 4 articles, you believe you would have won the race.
Yeah, but again,
And so I think this is the prosecution really driving this home. If he hadn't written these articles, you would have won. So you blamed him for all this stuff that was happening. I think that's what the prosecution said.
if Rita and Alicia hadn't gone to Alicia's dad to ask for this favor, those articles wouldn't have happened.
So the answer to my question is
So now he's trying to blame Rita and Alicia, but like, okay.
yes.
Who I would
Mr.
hold,
Gehrman-
most responsible is not Mr. Gehrman.
Sir, that's not my question.
Okay.
The question is, you believe if Mr. Gehrman had not written these 4 articles, you would have won the race, correct?
I do believe that, yes.
Okay. So I don't use the term cray cray in real. So he said that he's not. So could you imagine if Sarah Boone had a law degree? Could you imagine? So I think intellectually, I think he was able to handle this in a way that's more productive than Sarah Boone has been able to do so far. I do think part of his legal background might have helped him some, but it sounds like he was successful in areas of his life. She never, like, I don't know that she sustained a job on her own, or I don't think, like, she very much blames everybody else for everything else and seems entitled to me. Like, she expects her ex-husband to still pay alimony, and she has all of these expectations and demands. And I do think hers is going to be, because remember, she doesn't have any lawyer at all. I think hers has the potential to be very, very messy. I think it's going to be less than Daryl Brooks. Okay. So here it is. It's Tellis, Sarah Boone, Daryl Brooks. And like Daryl Brooks is like the spitting at the judge, has to wear the mouth guard, like Daryl Brooks. Okay. So then Sarah Boone, then Taz. I said his name wrong again. My bad. All right. That's how I see it. I do think that he is able to create an argument. He created an argument. So like Sarah Boone, her defense is it was an accident. Ma'am, that's not the law. Like, you're charged with second degree. Like, but that could be but like, ma'am, there's a video of you saying this is what I did, like that I'm getting you back for all the bad that you've done to me. Like that, there's a video of you saying that. How can you say you didn't have a depraved mind for second degree? So like she says it was an accident. He says it was a conspiracy. It wasn't me at all. So and this case I think has more. Sarah Boone, but both of these cases have a lot of evidence. For Sarah Boone, it's that video. That video, I don't know how she gets around that video.
You hated him by this point in time, isn't that right?
I could not say whether I hated him by this point in time. And if I, how long I might have hated him, if,
Roberta said you hated him.
Roberta is entitled to her own opinion. I don't know that I ever said I hated him.
Okay.
I don't know that I ever said that I hated him. So they're going to drive that home for a little bit. Now let's get ahead to some cross amnesia. So let's get to 510. There's going to be some convenient cross amnesia. That's not a real thing. We've made it up in the chat. That's where you all of a sudden can't remember things when you're being cross-examined. Memory is great on direct, horrific on cross-examination. Yes, he was only a probate lawyer. That's correct. I wouldn't be surprised. Probably for favors or something. He might get a whole new trial. I will definitely cover it if he gets a whole new trial. I don't think he'll testify. We'll see. I don't think he'll testify.
Everybody consider it agreed.
The judge goes, ma'am, ma'am. Or that's me, ma'am. I call her ma'am. I probably do. I didn't realize I said it.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Does the state stipulate to the presence? Mr. Cassidy?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, you had a chance to review those text messages?
Yes, sir.
That's a fair and accurate depiction of some of the text messages you have with Nicole.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
At this time, we ask that these be admitted, state code 376.
No objection.
He is nervous right now because the state found a really they found a message that can create a problem for his defense. And okay.
So again, just to set the
And he's trying to do everything he can to not look upset by all of this, to try to just look calm, but his face is leaking. So and that's where a true psychopath, like a true psychopath can completely hide, like on the extreme end of the spectrum, they can hide all of their emotions completely. He does not hide his emotions well. He says he's not mad, but he looks big mad. Like, I'm not mad. I didn't hate him. Sir, like your text messages, your Twitter. I didn't hate him. Okay.
stage, like how are you feeling in early August about Jeff German and his articles?
Like I said, I don't know that I thought any way about Jeff German in particular.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So we're just publishing these.
I hope she gets
Zoom in.
some good
That's just the
therapy.
ones in green. That's you, correct?
Yes.
That's just the first.
Somebody needs to send her. Nah, I don't know, but like she needs the Dr. Romney "It's Not You" book. Like, and people like this can be incredibly passionate, so they can be, but they can love hard. But they can be. If it's true narcissism, there's also that abuse and harm, and so, uh, but they're not bad all the time, and they can be like and it can make the relationship this huge roller coaster. I don't think relationships should be roller coasters. Like I'm talking like like now relationships are going to have their ups and downs, but not like no, like not full blown going off the track roller coasters. No thanks. No thanks. Completely unhinged. No. Mm.
Page that goes back to August 17th of 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So this message is from June 15th. That's the day of the primary, at least the day after the primary, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think you state, isn't it true, you state that her good morning, full results aren't in yet. It's about a three-way tie with me, last by around 2,000 votes. The precincts I'm counting on aren't in yet. And Nicole says, praying, right?
Mhm.
And you say, me too.
Yes.
Turning to what's marked as page 64, which is on the actual pagination. We look at this bottom email at 6:15 at 12 o'clock p.m. She writes to you, folks are prancing around like you conceded. Did you? Do you remember her writing that to you?
Not until I see it now, but it's been a while.
Okay. And then your response is, isn't it true? Your response was, no, I'll check the website to see if a winner was declared. And she responds, okay, correct?
Yes.
I think you indicate that if I lost, I will protect you until you can get a new position. Is that
Yes.
right? And she responds, I appreciate that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is it true then you say, I'm so sorry, Nicole, I tried so hard, I almost made a comeback, but it's done, correct?
Right.
And that's at 3:16 p.m. on the 15th, isn't that right?
Right.
And you say here, unfortunately, too many people bought the lies, isn't that right?
Right.
And when you're saying that,
I can't with your username. I can't. Sarah Boone's pretend judge. Have we found Sarah Boone's pretend judge? Yes, there is tons of evidence on his phone. Oh my gosh. ADHD, y'all.
you're referring to the voters, correct?
Yeah.
And the lies were propagated by those articles, correct?
Yes.
That Mr. Gehrman wrote.
Right.
Oh, good. I'm glad this is helpful.
We look down here at the end, she says, I'm so sorry, will you work until the end of the year or resign? Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And she says, thank you for believing in me. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Fair to say she cared for you and how you treated her in the office, correct?
Right.
All right. And you told her back I very much believe in you. You have been my best employee. I'm so sorry that I couldn't pull it off. Isn't that correct?
Right.
And she lets you know that you fought hard. Isn't that right?
Right.
And we see here on 6/15, you even say to her, I'll stay on until the end of the year, although if they aren't messing with you, I don't know that I'll spend a ton of time in the office, correct?
Right.
Essentially ceding power to Rita Reed, correct?
Right.
And Rita Reed is friendly to Compass Realty, correct?
Right.
And so your intentions were to step away.
For anyone that's new, Compass Realty. So he claims that there's this conspiracy by this other company that benefited from him being incarcerated, I guess, that this other company orchestrated all of this and planted evidence and did all these things. And there's no evidence to prove that. The Karen Reed situation was like a mess. Does that make sense? Like there are holes in the investigation. People have been fired. Like her situation is like there's evidence of like what happened to the light. Like they're that's a completely different situation. But there hasn't been any evidence of any conspiracy in this situation that I've seen. He's presented his opinion, and that's what he calls it. He calls it an opinion.
Away from that officer, lower your profile, even as early as June 15th of 2022.
Right.
So you would be less of a threat to Compass Realty even then, correct? Because you'd be stepping away and not spending a ton of time in the office.
No, sir. The evidence proves otherwise.
Okay. And then we look here at text on June 21st. Nicole says, now Alicia is in the other cubicle counting the files that were left in there. These people are so sick. They spend half the day trying to get you instead of working. The you she's referring to is yourself, correct?
I don't know if it was that or, generally saying you in that sense, like, because.
Why won't he concede to that? That's what she was saying. They're trying to get you. Like they're trying to find something you did wrong. That's what she's saying. Why would he make it sound like it wasn't that? Oh, okay.
I don't have files in a cubicle.
Okay.
So it might have been, that perception that, I don't know how to explain that. I think you get it.
Contextually, she's talking about the old guard, correct?
She is talking about them, but as far as whether she's talking about herself or me, I don't know.
Understood. But she believes these people are sick. Is that right?
That's her opinion. And, they did some pretty tough stuff.
Well, and it appears you share that same opinion. You say yes, like they think it all still matters, correct?
Right. Like they're still trying to sabotage me, but it's pointless at this point, right?
Well, you say it's pointless, but we'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
You then also say she's probably trying to get fodder to pass to the reporter, correct?
Yes.
So the reporter is still on your mind, isn't that right?
Just from the standpoint that they're still trying to concoct things, and that's why I decided to stay away from the office so they couldn't concoct anything anymore.
Because the articles were damaging, correct?
They were damaging, yes.
Professionally and personally.
Primarily professionally, because obviously I had to figure out something else to do for work, which, again, I'm a lawyer, so I guess, rehang my shingle if I can, do whatever I can.
And that's a really interesting point. On August 8th, we've seen how that's the day you get notified that Gehrman wants stuff between you and Rita, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I want to look at page, what's marked on the bottom is page 110.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it true that you tell Nicole at 12:28, you're dealing with a lot, I'm sorry. For me, this may have a long-term impact. I have people that no longer talk to me. Also, I'm worried in this digital age that the articles could potentially follow me around for years to come. I'm actually worried I might not have any good employment prospects after this, correct?
That looks bad. That looks really bad. And he's going to try to explain it. But he's going to try to convince like it's not what the jury saw. And that's pretty bad.
Yes.
And it just so happens that you were then informed.
Sorry, my bad. He admitted yes to that, but he's not going to say that it's that bad.
That Gehrman is snooping around looking to potentially do another article, correct?
Yep.
And you're telling Nicole in confidence that you believe your future employment is jeopardized because of the articles, right?
Yes, but the damage was already done. So it's not, whether he wrote another article, he wrote 10 more articles, it was irrelevant at this point.
Well, apparently you don't say that though in your email. You don't say in that, that text message. You don't say, but the damage is already done. Do you? You don't say that in that message, correct?
Well, it says that the articles are going to have an impact, and those are, you would think that would refer to previously published articles. So I think that it's assumed that, it's done is done. So
Sir,
if he goes on and does 10 more articles, same net effect.
Right. Sir, to go back to my question, Isn't it true you never use the words, the damage is already done, correct?
Not in this particular message, no.
Right. And you state Also, I'm worried in this digital age that the articles could potentially follow me around for years to come. I'm actually worried I might not have any good employment prospects after this, correct?
I'd say it'd be better than if I had actually murdered Mr. Gurman.
So, sir, we're going to go back to my question. Isn't that what you wrote in the text message?
Wait a minute. I need to go back to that. Because he just threw that in. That was weird.
Right. And you state, also, I'm worried in this digital age that the articles could potentially follow me around for years to come. I'm actually worried I might not have any good employment prospects after this, correct?
I'd say it'd be better than if I had actually murdered Mr. Gurman.
So, sir,
What? That's just a weird place to put that, I think. Because I think he's still trying to hold on to I'm innocent. My life. What? Okay, I guess.
we're going to go back to my question. Isn't that what you wrote in the text message?
Yes.
Yes.
And 4 days later, Google Maps images start popping up in your phone, correct?
No.
7 days later, on the 15th, surveillance is being conducted on a street, correct?
Not by me.
And on the 23rd, multiple images of Garman's information about what car he drives and where he lives is literally being screenshotted of your desktop.
And I didn't share this part of the testimony, but they have images of pictures of Garman's house on his phone, and that from his desk or like from his computer or something like that, that the address was like searched, because you can find like in his role, they're alleging that he had access to public records to be able to type in somebody's name and find the addresses and find the address associated with that name. So that's how the prosecution thinks he found out where Garman lived. So, hmm.
Computer, correct?
Not by me.
Because if it was you, that would be a big problem, wouldn't it?
Conclusion, it's argumentative.
Not
It
frequently.
is argumentative. If
We'll
you
move on.
Phrase it.
No, we can move on.
It was argumentative.
Publishing 340.
And I love because they tried to make it sound like somebody else could have planted them. They could have like airdropped them. And the prosecution was good. It's like, so I do have an iPhone, but even with airdrops, you have to accept an airdrop, I believe. Like normally so I don't have it where anybody can airdrop me anything. And even if I like attempt to airdrop something to myself, it often says, do you accept this? I don't know if that's just an adult thing that I have set. I don't know. Like if kids have settings where they just accept airdrops from anybody, it's like normally I thought you had to accept an airdrop. And if random pictures started showing up in my phone, I personally would notice that. And I guess he's saying he didn't. It really is difficult because he's trying to say it wasn't me. It wasn't me. He's also going to add a cat in the hat. Okay. So we're going to get to his cat in the hat rhyme in just a moment.
42. Then you receive this email on 9/1, correct?
Yes, sir.
You receive it at 5:45 p.m.
Yes, sir.
correct?
Mhm.
And we heard from Roberta, who talked about this, right?
Right.
And she had indicated that the release of the information to Garman was just around the corner, correct?
Right.
Okay. So all that was coming. He's going to continue to deny that. They are also, so then they're going to find a text message. Ooh, they're going to find something.
Sure. Yes. 388.
Mhm.
Does that help? Kind of help? I mean,
Sure.
look at the address.
Of course.
We got our address here.
Right.
And that corresponds to those documents. Do
Correct.
these appear to be like a listing agreement, kind of an order closing the sale of certain property?
Not this part. Wait a minute. Let me find my mark. It was 5:36. The Apple Watch from his wife. The messages from his wife.
And that was just minutes later, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So there wasn't any concern. It was just a picture of your daughter in this call. You were just going to take care of it, right?
Right.
Okay. Nothing else?
As far as like messages and things go, or
Well, anything else you want to add to this, sir?
I don't think so.
Your wife doesn't have a Google phone, right? She have an Apple,
Yes.
and Apple's got all these crazy products. They've got what's the thing that you put on your wrist? that kind of goes with your phone. What's that one called?
Some of the Apple Watch.
The Apple Watch. Does May have an Apple Watch?
She does.
Okay. Did you ever watch Steve Jobs' presentations when he would get up and say, just one more thing? You ever see him do that? And he drops like a new product or anything?
No.
Never seen that before?
Mm.
Okay. Well, let's take a look. I'm publishing 3.
Is he going to say just one more thing? Was he going to try to Steve Jobs him? Hey, let me drop the biggest piece of evidence on you right now. I like this ADA.
What's been, I don't even know if I've shown this opposing counsel. This is just.
He's not going to be happy about this.
Okay, and on the back of this is the very image that she sent to you. Would that be correct?
Right.
And that's a fair and accurate depiction of that thumbnail,
Mhm.
correct? It's a fair and accurate depiction of what's up there in that timeline,
I
correct?
believe so, yes.
Okay. At this time, we have permission to name states 378.
What they're entering is on the day of Gehrman's murder. There's a text message that wasn't on his wife's phone and wasn't on his phone, but that is on her Apple Watch.
No objection.
And you talked about these. I think you told us before on cross that these messages, they weren't hacked or anything like that from the police. Like these were the messages, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to publish 378. So this message, if you could, please tell
Very
me
much would.
what is the
Very
time?
much would.
Oh, it's kind of cut up a little bit. What time is that message sent?
At 10:36 a.m.
Okay, on September the 2nd, is that
Correct.
right? I have this other little blurb. It doesn't actually have anything there, but what is the time on that?
10:36.
And then we have on this following page another message at 3:16. Is that correct?
Mhm.
I think she's kind of talking about how much she's selling some cards and making some money, something like that, correct?
Right.
And you immediately kind of respond within a minute to her at around 3 o'clock, correct?
Right.
But you don't do anything here, correct? Because it's just a random message, and there's no need to. Nothing's being asked of you, right?
Right.
It's just a random message.
Right.
And you'll just take care of it when you walk in the door. Right?
Pretty much.
Showing opposing counsel what's been marked as state close 379 through 387. You didn't delete anything off your phone.
Look at his lawyer's face. He dug this hole. Tejas dug this hole. He did this to himself.
On September 2nd of 2022. Did you, sir?
Not that I recall.
Now we're going to approach the state's proposed 379 through 387. Let's take a look at those.
You see, like he's confused. Like, wait a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Sir, do those appear to be messages that we just looked at from maybe some other device that we were just looking at through your text messages or your timeline?
Yeah.
Do those appear to be fair and accurate depictions of those messages?
Except there's an additional message.
Right, there's an additional message. That's your wife's Apple Watch, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, and that's a fair and accurate depiction of what that watch looks like, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
And with the exception of the one message that's off, everything else seems to be a fair and accurate depiction of your communication on that day that you were just telling us about on the timeline. Isn't that right?
So it seems, yes.
Okay. At this time, we'd ask for the admission.
I'm gonna fast forward. It's
You
gonna start.
maintained that on the morning, September 2nd, 2022, you were at home, correct?
So this is the day of the murder.
Right, except for when I went to take a walk.
You deny going over the 7216 Bronx Circle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Publishing 379. That is your wife's Apple Watch, correct?
I mean, it's got a picture of my daughter on it, so I'd have to assume that it is.
No. That's the same picture you just, it says Friday, correct?
It's the same.
Please read to this jury, what does it say underneath that photograph?
It says, where are you?
Where are you? You told us you were at home.
I did not. I said, actually, when I got the messages, I was still on my walk.
Sir, is it your testimony that you were at home on the day in that morning?
Not the entire morning, no. And
Okay.
I said that to you,
And
sir.
let me ask you this question. That message isn't on your phone, is it?
It isn't. I mean, if it was sent, it should have been,
One
but
at a time, one at a
Sir?
time, please.
Yes or no? That message isn't on your phone.
why it isn't, I wouldn't know because
I
apparently
didn't
it's
ask
not,
you why.
it's not my wife's phone either.
Sir, I didn't ask you why.
Oh, yes.
I asked you a yes or no question. That message is not on your phone, correct?
From what you showed me, it is not.
And you were in possession of your phone on that day, correct?
On that day, yes.
And you, as the owner of the phone, have the ability to save messages and delete messages, correct?
Yes.
Because the person who holds the phone controls the information, correct?
At that moment, yes.
Right. And she's asking, where are you? Right?
Yes.
At that same time, at 10:30 in the morning, we've seen video surveillance of a car that you say looks just like mine driving in Mr. Gehrman's neighborhood, correct?
That is correct.
Sir, if you left your phone at home, you wouldn't have been able to respond to that message, correct? If you were not next to it, correct?
I think that's speculative, but
If you left your house and left your phone at home on the morning of September 2nd, and your wife's texting you, where are you? You wouldn't have been able to respond to that, correct?
But I did not.
I didn't ask you that. If you were not in your house on September 2nd in the morning, and your wife sent you a message with a phone you had left at home, it would have been impossible for you to answer that question, correct?
Yeah.
You can answer.
I'll ask you again.
Again, that would have been if in fact that was the case, if in fact I left my phone at home, then sure, yes.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay, so at this time, we need to end early today, so we're gonna conclude for today.
Yes, saved by the judge. So they ended up ending for the day. And then let me go on ahead and get day 8. Oh my gosh. This guy, really quick. So he tries to say that he's not avoiding responsibility. I have 13418. I wonder if that's I didn't, not in the car, not in the hat, not by the bench.
Beyond the fact that for some reason he was still hung up on that Ottawa thing that happened a year and a half before, which I don't know why that was a big deal for him, but he apparently mentioned it in his interview with the police that, that he had that. So, so then I want to move to these supposed electronic evidence that was allegedly found on my phone or a phone image or what have you. When I was arrested, the police leaked to the media that there was allegedly a shoe found in my house. There was allegedly a hat found in my house. They allegedly found the DNA. They did not leak that they allegedly found this electronic information on my phone or on some image, despite the fact that they allegedly had.
So what he's trying to say now is that all this other information was leaked. Why wasn't this picture, the "where are you" picture, or why wasn't that leaked? That's what he's saying at this moment. That's his explanation for that text message. Is they leaked all this other information. Why didn't they leak this? That's what he's trying to say.
At it at that point. So I can't explain why that was the case.
And that wouldn't be something for him to explain? Why what? That's odd.
Now, when it comes to these Google Maps shots, again, I'll reiterate that I did not know Mr. Gehrman's address. So whoever plugged that in obviously did know the address. And there was a photo that we were shown that showed a video camera that was right across the way from Mr. Gehrman's house. I do not engage in crime, but if I wanted to do something while not being caught on camera, and I knew there was a camera right across the way, I wouldn't do it.
Or would you wear a big hat and a like big jacket, and would you try to cut up that hat and the shoes you had on? Would somebody do that?
And which also brings up another point. If I knew there was a camera right across the way, I certainly would find another means of transportation besides using my own vehicle. Certainly, I didn't have, I wasn't rich, but I certainly, I did okay enough that I could rent a nondescript car, but I couldn't see myself as the kind of.
Or you could just take your wife's car. You could take your wife's car. What is he talking about?
But I couldn't see myself as the kind of person who would be foolish enough to use my own vehicle to allegedly commit any kind of crime.
I can't see myself as the type of individual that would use my own vehicle to commit a crime. That's such a lawyer answer. Like that is, I could not see myself as the type of person that would use my own vehicle. But did you though? Or are you the what? I don't understand, dude. Now, no DNA was found inside the car. That is correct. That is correct. But okay. His DNA was found under
let's
the
see here.
victim's nails, I think.
So again, I don't.
My kids.
There was. I did not know Mr. Gurman's address, so I don't know how anyone could say that I did these searches. And then I didn't know Mr. Gurman's schedule. I did not know Mr. Gurman's schedule to know that he would be home on that day at that particular time. Yet apparently the killer knew. I did not know the layout of Mr. Gurman's home, or what room he would be in, or what, I wouldn't know how to, as I said, lure Mr. Gurman out of his house. So
this is when somebody with narcissistic traits is now trying to play down their intelligence. Like I did not know his address. I did not know where he lived. I did not know what his house looked like. I did. And that's where his cadence does not sound like how he normally talked. Like he is so trying to convince the jury of this. He's saying it in a way that to me comes off condescending. Like to me, he's like I'm talking to a child. I did not know. And so I don't talk to children that way. Like I don't I talk to children like the humans that they are. Now I do get on their level and I keep my voice calm, but I I do get him at great freeze frames, don't I? I did not. I did not in a car. I did not have the shoes. I did not. And so this is the Dr. Seuss part.
I didn't commit the murder. I don't know how the murderer knew that. I certainly did not. So the person who supposedly took these photos on August 15th, it seems knew that Mr. Gurman had a gray Honda from what we heard yesterday. Yet that same person, or allegedly
So when he tries to talk about what the alleged killer did versus what he did, that is very, very painful. I do want to get to the jury questions because I think that's right here. I think it's right here, the jury questions. Let's get to those.
Well, now we'll submit it to the court.
Okay, if there is Marco,
S3.
S3 will be admitted.
Okay, would you like me to approach you?
Wait a minute. Nope. He's admitting more stuff. And then the state cross-examines him again. And then the jury's questions. Okay. Here.
We have
I have the full videos down in the description if you would like to painfully watch any of this. I would recommend watching it with Melanie Little or Lawyer Lee or with like this is painful to watch all by itself.
Questions from a juror, court's exhibit number 20. Were you concerned that your wife would get knowledge of the affair before you get to tell her about it yourself, or did she only find out after Mr. Gehrman's murder took place?
She actually did find out beforehand, and I did,
The way that he talks about the affair, like it's just I don't like to me there's like he's not proud of it. Like it doesn't seem like he's like it does seem like this is something that he's not comfortable talking about still. And how he's talking around his words is almost like he doesn't want to bring it up again to me. That's how it comes off to me.
unfortunately, like I said, I made a mistake, and it is what it is. And so, no, as far as my wife is concerned, and my family is concerned, they did forgive me for what happened.
To me, that was a so I guess maybe she knew before, but did she find out from the article? Because there were the articles too. So I would have wanted to know, did she know before the first article? Because I think that answer is no. I think she found out with the articles, and he probably continued to deny it because I think there were videos of him getting in the car with the lady and then them being in the car for an extended period of time and then them coming out of the car. And so I don't know if that stuff was going to come out. I don't know to what level she was aware, but he's saying she forgave him. Okay.
Okay, and court's exhibit number 21. How tall are you without lifts?
5'6.5".
And that's where I don't know if he didn't remember that he said he was 6'5". So he said during his narrative when he was talking about the lifts that he was 6'5". But somebody who's 6'5" would not wear lifts. And that's where is he really 5'5"? Is he really 5'4"? Like, do we even believe the 5'6"? He's 5'6.5". I don't know. I don't know. So, because he accidentally, so he said 6'5", but someone who's 6 foot would not wear lifts because you're already really tall. But
Any follow-up from do you have anything else you want to say, Mr. Tejas? Any follow-up
I don't
based
believe
on
so.
those questions?
No.
Okay, Mr. Hantner?
y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining me for this stream. Thank you for letting me know that there is, because Law and Crime released a video for the Wade. Y'all know me in names. And I've been streaming since 1:00. So 1:00, I think 1:00. So thank you for letting me know that he is getting a brain scan. And so I will cover that next week. There might be a pop-up stream for to cover Wade Wilson. That's what it is. Is that Wade Wilson? That's what it is in my brain for the second. I will cover that next week. This testimony has been I do feel like the jury might have a verdict by Tuesday, so we might cover the verdict on Tuesday. We will see. And he could be because he did make mistakes because they brought up some of his text messages and there were some typos and he blamed autocorrect for that. So I will admit that sometimes I make typos, but that is me. That is not autocorrect. Okay. I make mistakes. He does not seem to admit when he makes mistakes. When is the perimenopause coping strategy stream? We will have to do that. We will. Because hormone therapy can cause mental health concerns like hormones and attention and all of those things, brain fog that can come with that. And so I will have to plan something. I will. Maybe when it's a little cooler outside and I'm not like over here hot. Um I feel like they're going to be bad. Am I going to have secondary trauma? Y'all let me know in the chat. If I listen to his jail calls, am I going Hmm, I heard they're bad. I heard it. I heard his jail calls are bad. Thank you, Jillian. Please. Okay, so I will have to listen. So give me a channel in the chat that covered his jail calls. Can y'all let me know who to watch them with? I know there's conspiracy, but and so there's some. Is it like conspiracy or who covered the calls? Um, oh, see, that's where like I think it's gonna be ugh. Ugh, like I don't. So I won't cover it if it's cringe. I might just talk about it in general. Okay, Jumpsuit Pablo. I know I've watched some of his stuff. So I didn't love that this streamer, that Zab girl, I think they released some like autopsy. I think sometimes people release things. I don't know. I have watched her channel. I just yeah. I yeah. Yeah, yeah. All right. Let me see. All right. Thank y'all. I'm gonna go hang out with my kiddo. I am so, so, so glad that you all join me for this stream. I will see y'all later in the week. Have a good one. Bye.